The monarchy operates under a sacred, unwritten contract of perpetual continuity. That contract was violated in the chaotic weeks following the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. The official records were silent, but an internal panic grew. The archives confirmed the impossible. Several pieces of the late Queen's personal collection, artifacts that spanned generations of history, gifted by empires held in deepest trust, were simply unaccounted for. These were not the crown jewels, safely locked in the tower. These were the private, uncatalogued symbols of a long reign. The initial impulse was denial, a clerical error, a misplaced inventory. But the intelligence, delivered through an anonymous, encrypted channel, was too specific, too chillingly accurate. It named the location of the assets, Ashwood Manor, a secret country estate acquired years earlier through a complex web of private trusts. Linked directly to the Queen Consort. Commander James Hartley, a man who had dedicated nearly 3 decades to the Crown's protection, was presented with the warrant. His face was stern, his duty clear, but the historical weight pressing down on him was immense. He was about to execute a raid that would either save the monarchy from external sabotage or expose an act of internal treason. Part 2. The infiltration and the first treasure. The convoy of black security vehicles made its way through the breaking dawn. The atmosphere was one of silent, profound dread. Every officer understood the institutional damage if the mission failed, or if the initial suspicion proved correct. At Ashwood Manor, the scene was one of forced formality. Mrs. Helena Blackwood, the manager, met them. Her pale, rigid composure, the very definition of institutional control, was the first sign that this was not a misunderstanding. She held the keys, but she did not possess the truth. The search was painstaking. Every object was documented, every wall scrutinized. Hartley, guided by the intelligence, moved straight to the private study. It was paneled in dark mahogany, projecting refined, unassailable power. The breakthrough was minute, almost technical, an almost imperceptible flaw in the wall's architecture. Pressing against the back panel of a desk drawer, Hartley felt the hollow give. With a delicate touch, he sprung the latch. The black velvet pouch was pulled into the light. What tumbled out was the emerald and diamond peacock brooch, a known priceless artifact. The shock was palpable. The immediate presence of this single piece demolished any possibility of innocent misplacement. A crime had been committed. The Queen Consort's private sanctuary was a vault for stolen goods. Part 3. The archive of hostility. The discovery of the brooch was the catalyst for the investigation's drastic escalation. The team immediately focused on all hidden cavities, eventually locating a concealed compartment containing a diamond tiara that had belonged to Queen Mary. The evidence was mounting into an avalanche. The most catastrophic discovery was made in the sub-level storage rooms. These were climate-controlled vaults, but they did not hold wine. They held intelligence. Dozens of boxes, labeled with cryptic codes, contained an archive that spanned decades. Private correspondence, financial ledgers, and institutional memos. Hartley realized they were not fighting a thief. They were dismantling a highly organized intelligence operation. This was an acquisition of leverage, a detailed matrix of vulnerabilities designed to be deployed at maximum impact. The systemic nature of the theft, combined with the comprehensive files, signaled a strategic attempt to destroy the monarchy's credibility. The search culminated with the penetration of the steel safe. Inside were the remaining 23 artifacts, including the personal crown of the late Queen. The sheer audacity, using the monarchy's own prestige to hide the theft, was staggering. Part 4. The truth of the betrayal. Focus shifted to the human element. The Queen Consort, devastated, faced the political reality that the evidence pointed squarely at her. But the investigation followed the paper trail of betrayal. The trail began with Marcus Chen, a logistics coordinator with massive gambling debts. the weak link exploited by the conspirators. Chen's swift confession led to the true operational executive, Richard Peaton, the Queen Consort's private secretary, who had managed the purchase of the manor. Peaton's flight was an admission of guilt, but his capture provided the missing name. Peaton's interrogation was painstaking. He confessed to facilitating the crime, but identified his handler as Julian Ashcraftoft, the operational alias for Victor Aldridge. Aldridge was the mastermind, a rogue MI6 intelligence asset turned corporate saboteur. His motives were profound and political. He was operating on behalf of powerful, hostile foreign entities with historical grievances against the crown. Aldridge's genius was in psychological warfare. He framed the crime as an act of loyalty, convincing his subordinates they were protecting the monarchy by moving assets, when in reality, they were planting evidence to ensure the Queen Consort's ruin. The full conspiracy was a 5-person cell, including Thomas Weatherby, the security technician who disabled the cameras, and Margaret Sinclair, the former assistant who provided the precise inventory locations. Part 5: Vindication and the Fugitive Shadow. The evidence, complete with interlocking confessions, overwhelmingly cleared the Queen Consort. She was not a perpetrator, but a victim of an elaborate, institutional-level frame job. The king faced an acute crisis of state: how to acknowledge the internal failure without triggering political chaos. He chose transparency. In a definitive public address, he confirmed the existence of the conspiracy, acknowledging the vulnerability but vindicating his wife. His public support was a political masterstroke, salvaging institutional reputation. The 4 subordinates were arrested, prosecuted, and convicted, receiving sentences ranging from 3 to 7 years. All 23 artifacts were recovered and meticulously returned, symbolizing the crown's successful resistance to the attack. But the most dangerous threat endures. Victor Aldridge, the architect, utilizing his formidable intelligence skills, remains at large. He is an untraceable shadow, a fugitive who executed a spectacular attack against the state and vanished. Commander James Hartley, exhausted but vindicated, retired shortly after. His final case, a stark documentation of institutional vulnerability. The Ashwood Manor conspiracy is permanently recorded in the annals of the monarchy, a chilling, detailed reminder that trust, once weaponized, can become the most dangerous threat of all.